Welcome. We are Holyoke Food and Equity Collective, and we are piloting our first community compost hub at Neighbor to Neighbor's Dwight Street Garden. My name is Margot Wise. I'm a co-director at Holyoke Food and Equity Collective, and I'm a certified community scale composter. The Compost Hub at Dwight Street Garden is a solidly built, rodent-proof, 3-bin composting system where members of the hub contribute the food scraps they generate at home and get involved in creating high-quality compost together with their neighbors. This keeps valuable resources here in Holyoke so that we can grow more healthy food to feed people instead of trucking our food scraps away to become toxic pollution in landfills and incinerators. The compost bins are locked to prevent trash contamination, and every household that successfully completes the sign-up process will be given the code to the lock for 24/7 free access. Note that we may have to cap the Compost Hub membership at a yet-to-be-determined capacity until we get the funds to build more of these hubs around the city. The way to sign up is a simple 3-step process, all parts of which can be found at holyoke-collective.org/compost. First, you must watch this video in its entirety because you will be quizzed on its content. You may watch it as many times as you want, and we recommend referring back to it if any questions come up while you are composting. Next, you will need to pass a short quiz based on this video's content. You can retake the quiz unlimited times until you get a passing score of 70% or higher. Lastly, you will fill out a quick questionnaire and agree to our community guidelines. The whole process will likely take about a half an hour. You will then receive the padlock code within about a week by email. In this video, you will be learning specifically how the Community Compost Hub at Dwight Street Garden works and how to use it, including all the acceptable and non-acceptable items. So, how does the Community Compost Hub at Dwight Street Garden work? You will always add your food scraps to the bin on the right, since the batches will be moved to the left as they age. Each bin will be labeled with a sign much like this. The compost will move, but the signs will stay where they are. This graph shows the 3 basic phases of add, cook, and cool based on temperature changes over time due to the microbial activity that transforms food scraps into a nutrient-rich, living soil amendment. We aren't going to get deep into the science of composting in this video, but for bringing your food scraps to the hub, it is important to know that those same microbes that heat up the compost and transform it need an ideal ratio of brown and green materials in order to thrive. That ideal ratio is 2 to 4 scoops brown or high carbon materials to 1 scoop of green or high nitrogen materials. Our greens will be the food scraps community members bring to the hub, and our browns will typically be wood chips and sawdust, but may also include fallen leaves. Those will be provided at the hub. We have placed trash cans filled with brown materials right next to the add bin so that you can easily scoop high carbon materials on top of your food scraps. This keeps the microbes happy while also reducing odors. After about 4 to 6 weeks, or whenever the add bin is full, we will have a community workday to turn the contents of it over into the cook bin and continue adding in the now empty bin. You will be asked to come to 1 community workday per year when you sign up, if that is a physical possibility for you. After another 4 to 6 weeks of cooking, we will turn the contents of the cook bin into the cool bin. And another 4 to 6 weeks after that, it should be ready to spread in the garden, and if it's not, we'll give it some extra time curing in an open pile next to the bins so we can move the other batches along. If you've never composted, you may be wondering how collecting food scraps works. Let's start with the container. We recommend having a reusable container rather than using something like a plastic bag to collect your scraps in. Plastic is not allowed in the compost, and we wouldn't want any bags to make their way in accidentally. If you invest in an attractive 1-gallon countertop compost bucket, like the 2 examples on the left, it will be super convenient to have it out while you are chopping vegetables, and many of these come with carbon filters to reduce smells. I have the stainless steel one, and I can't ever smell it when the lid is closed. If spending that much money is not in the cards, You can absolutely use a large Tupperware type container or even reuse a large container that food came in. It's a good idea to keep this type of container in the fridge or freezer. If you have a large family or would like to make less frequent visits to the hub, another option is a 5-gallon bucket with a tight-fitting lid that is stored outside. You can collect scraps in a bowl on your countertop while you cook, and then bring them outside to the bucket during cleanup. Just make sure that the lid is on tight, as you probably don't want to be attracting skunks and possums to your back steps. The bucket will be a little stinky after you empty it, but a little scrub with soap and water after each emptying will take care of that. And having a dedicated scrubber for your compost bucket or container will help ease your mind that you aren't spreading any yuckiness anywhere else. Ripping up a brown paper bag to fit 1 or 2 layers just in the bottom of the bucket helps the food scraps come out all at once when you dump them and not stick to the bottom. Please do not dump food scraps contained within a bag into the compost bin, even a paper one, as it will hinder the composting process. If you have collected your scraps in any kind of bag, please empty the contents into the compost bin. You'll need to learn which items can and can't go into the compost bin. And if you've ever had a curbside composting service at your house, our rules may be different. So learn them, memorize them, refer back to them often, and we have a printable yes/no sheet that can be posted in your kitchen on our website. In time, separating your compostables will become second nature and habit. In general, we would like you to only compost food scraps. We'll start with the items not allowed in the bins, which will be more important for you to remember than the allowed items. First off, do not put any compostable plastic bags, to-go containers, flatware, cups, or anything that's labeled compostable besides what's on our acceptable items list. These products are listed as compostable because they break down in industrial-sized compost facilities, and they would not break down quickly enough in our system. It may be obvious, but we want to be clear that no plastic, glass, metal, pieces of wood, besides the wood chips we provide, or toxic substances of any kind are allowed in the compost bin. In general, we have a no paper rule. We do not allow cardboard of any kind, and most paper products like takeout boxes, paper plates, paper cups, etc., or any paper with inks and dyes like newspaper, office paper, and dyed paper napkins. But we do have 4 exceptions to the no paper rule, mainly for your convenience. These are the only types of paper we allow in the bin: coffee filters, tea bags, and please make sure they are made of paper and not synthetic fabric, which some tea bags are made of now. Small amounts of used paper towels, and again, make sure it's 100% paper, no wipes, and pieces of ripped brown paper bag for lining the bottom of your bucket. These are the only paper items allowed in the compost bins. Keep an eye out for produce stickers. They are not compostable and will need to be removed from all your produce before you bring your food scraps to our bin. The best way to remember this is to remove them from each piece of produce as you are putting your groceries away. Also, keep an eye out for any rubber bands or twist ties that may be holding bunches of greens or stems together. Those rubber bands and twist ties are also not compostable, so please remember to take them off before tossing your food scraps in the compost bin. The only type of foods we don't allow in the bins are meat, bones, dairy, grease, and oils. These take longer to break down and can cause smells and attract pests. And do not dump any significant quantities of pure salt into the compost. Foods and snacks that have salt on them are totally fine to go in, but too much salt in the soil will inhibit plant growth. So just don't pour salt into the compost bin and we should be okay. Even though it is totally compostable, we don't allow yard waste. Our bins are only 3 feet squared, and our priority is on composting food scraps. So please bring your yard waste to Holyoke DPW's yard waste drop-off site, have it picked up curbside, or compost it at home. We do not allow pet or human feces in the bins, and no diapers, not even compostable ones, or kitty litter. No bodily fluids such as blood are allowed either. We are not allowing ashes from charcoal grills or fire pits in order to ensure that we aren't putting any chemicals from lighter fluid or treated wood into the compost bin. And now for the easy part, the things that are allowed in the compost bin. Fruit and vegetable scraps. They don't have to be certified organic, as pesticides generally break down in the composting process. Grains, bread, and pasta. Legumes, nuts, seeds, and their shells. Eggshells. Gourds and pumpkins. They just need to be chopped up into 2 to 3 inch chunks before you bring them to the compost bin. Tea leaves, coffee grounds, old herbs and spices are all allowed. Just remember, no pure salt. Moldy food and leftovers and stale snacks are all totally okay to put in. If you have untreated sawdust, wood shavings, or wood chips, we would be interested in having it for our carbon cans where we store our brown materials. Just talk to us before bringing it to the garden or applying it to the compost. Here is the overview of everything we just went over, and we have a downloadable version of it on our website. As for acceptable quantities, any amount produced by a household is acceptable. This program is just for households, not for businesses, institutions, or organizations. If you have any questions about what can and can't go in, just email us at holyokecollective@gmail.com. Once you've collected your food scraps, you'll need to bring them to the compost hub at Dwight Street Garden. Here's how to dump your food scraps at the hub. First, unlock and open the lid. Then pull up on the handle located on the right side of the bin to prop the lid up. Then unhook the little shovel from inside the lid and use it to dig a hole big enough for your food scraps to fit in. We use this method of burying the food scraps to reduce odors and speed up the composting process. Next, dump your food scraps into the hole you dug, and then open up the carbon cans and scoop 2 to 4 times the amount of browns as the food scraps you put in. If there are 2 types of browns in the cans, it doesn't matter which one you use, but a combination of fine and coarse particles is ideal, like the sawdust and wood chips I am using here. Next, dump in the browns to cover the food scraps. Then, if needed, use the shovel again to make sure the food scraps are completely covered by the high carbon materials. Return the scoops and lids to the carbon cans, put the little shovel back against the lid, and pull the bungee across it to hook it on the other side. There's a close-up of the hook. Then push the lid prop back down inside, gently close the lid. You may have to tap the side to line it up just right. Then close the hasp and put the padlock back on. Spinning the numbers of the lock while pushing it closed locks it. And you're done. Let's review the steps. 1. Unlock, open, and prop the lid. 2. Unhook shovel and dig a little hole. 3. Dump food scraps in the hole. 4. Scoop 2 to 4 times browns as food scraps from the carbon cans, which are the trash cans just to the right of the compost bins. 5. Cover the food scraps with the browns. 6. Use the shovel to ensure food scraps are completely covered if needed. 7. Return scoops, shovel, and lids, and lock the bin. Please don't steal our stuff. If our scoops, shovels, lids, or locks get walked off with, we may have to end this program. Please leave them here so that everyone can benefit from this program. If you are looking for further involvement in the Compost Hub than dumping your scraps, come to our monthly work days where we will turn the piles and learn about composting. Spread the word about the Compost Hub. Tell all your Holyoke friends. And we would love to hear your feedback about the program, so email us letting us know how it is going for you. Now that you've learned how to compost at our Community Compost Hub, scroll below this video on holyoke-collective.org/compost to take the quiz. Once you've passed the quiz, scroll below that to fill out a quick questionnaire and agree to some guidelines. Then you should receive the padlock code from us within a week to start composting. Thanks so much for being part of this pilot program, and happy composting!